let us go ahead and tackle Chapter 2, Lesson 3, where we are going to write two-step equations. We're going to approach this with 3 steps in total. First, we have our words. We're going to actually describe the situation that we're solving. And some of my classes will have seen me do that in our previous lessons as a way of condensing and breaking down the information. Second step is we will go ahead and define a variable. You're going to state either let x be some number or n equals some statement before we go into actually writing the equation. Now, these are the steps just for writing it. There will be some where you are asked to actually solve and find the final answer. And we'll take a look at how we're going to answer those. Now, on this page, there are a lot of possible verbal phrases you could run into when trying to create your equations. What I'm going to ask you to do, pause the video, copy all of this down, and then start it up again. Pause the video now. Now let us go look at some examples. Here's our first one. We're going to translate each sentence into an equation. And here is where we will begin. We have 8 less than 3 times a number is negative 23. Now I'm going to go through and pull out different pieces. In my classes, we use a method called cubes, where first we go through, after we've read it one time, we circle all the important numbers. We have 8 less than 3 times a number is negative 23. Next, we would underline the question, but this example does not have a question in it. The next step would be to box in what we call action words, or words that tell us operations. It says 8 less than meaning some subtraction, 3 times, so here we go, we see multiplication, a number is. What we need to know is that is going to be the equal sign. For this, when talking about the words, our words are simply going to be this exact statement, but I'm actually going to write the numbers as numbers. So I'm going to write 8 less than 3 times a number is negative 23. Next step, I need to assign a variable. And we'll say that we're going to let n be a number. So in this case, where it said a number in the actual statement, we're going to replace it with n. Now let's go ahead and set it up. Some things to note. If you copied down the table on the previous page, we need to take a note about less than. Less than means that we are going to subtract by the number in front. It means that the 8 actually does not come first. The 8 is being subtracted away from the next part of our statement that says 3 times a number. 3 times a number looks like 3 times n, or 3n. 8 less than is -8. Is the equal sign, -23. So again, this statement here was 3 times a number and this statement here is our 8 less than. Each of these is going to be set up with a similar kind of formula. We're going to go through, pick out our words, and piece it together using that table from that previous slide. Next example states 13 is 7 more than 1/5 of a number. So there's a lot of pieces happening here. Using cubes, I'm going to start with C and circle important numbers. 13 is 7 more than 1/5 of a number. I would underline a question. That doesn't apply for this. I'm going to box in some action words. 13 is, remember is our equal sign. 7 more than 1/5 of a number. The rest of the cubes model would ask us to eliminate information that we don't need and then to solve the problem. But in this case, we just need the first 3 parts to be able to piece this together. Now I'm going to write the statement out using numbers instead of some of the words. So 13 is 7 more than 1/5. Sorry, I wanted to write that as a number instead. 1/5 is a fraction of a number. Now we can use whatever letter we want to represent that number, but I'm just going to say let n be the number. And we can piece together what we have. The first part says 13 is. So that's going to be written as 13 is equal to. So again, that was my 13 is. The next part says 7 more than. What that means is I am going to add 7 to whatever the next statement is. So I'll come back to it. That plus 7 actually is going to go right here. So that's the 7 more than. And that blank, I'm going to fill in with whatever came after that statement. It says 1/5 of a number. So that means 1/5 of is multiplying, so I'm going to put in. And I'll even slide this over so it's closer. But this is our equation. 13 is equal to 1/5 times n plus 7. We're going to do a few more of these just to make sure they are clear. 3 more than 1/2 a number is 15. 3 more than 1/2 a number is 15. So I have those circled numbers. I'm going to go back and box some stuff in. 3 more than again is that addition. 1/2 a number. Now, this might look strange, but I'm going to box in 1/2 a number, because that's going to be my hint that I am doing 1/2 times a number is 15. So let's write that out using the numbers instead of some of those words. 13 more than 1/2 a number is 15. We're going to let n be the number. Again, you can use whatever letter you want. And we can begin to piece it together. We're going to start with the 13 more than. Remember, when it says 13 more than, that means I'm adding 13 to something. We're adding that to 1/2 a number. That means 1/2 times the number n is my equal sign, 15. So again, we started off with the 13 more than 1/2 a number is 15. Now we're going to switch over to whole word problems, meaning we're not going to just write the equation, we're going to end up solving it. So let's take a look. You buy 3 books that each cost the same amount and a magazine, all for $55.99. You know that the magazines cost $1.99. How much does each book cost? So let's go through again using cubes. You buy 3 books that each cost the same amount and a magazine, all for $55.99. You know that the magazines cost $1.99. How much does each book cost? We're going to have to take another read through in a second, but next is U for underlining the question. It's right here at the end. How much does each book cost? Next, let's go box in some action words, words that tell me some operations. You buy 3 books that each, remember each is a sign for multiplying, they each cost the same amount, and is always plus, a magazine, all for. Whenever you see all for, that is another sign for equals $55.99. You know that the magazine costs $1.99. Let's write out in words, just condensing all that down and just getting to the bare point. What's happening here is 3 books and a magazine cost $55.99. So in words, that is what we're trying to solve. I'm going to let B be the cost of the books. And now I can start writing an equation. Going back into the problem, it said 3 books that each cost the same amount. So whatever the price of the books is, B is being multiplied by the number 3 because each means to multiply. And is plus a magazine. Well, what do we know about the magazine? We know that it costs $1.99. All 4 is my equal sign, $55.99. So here I have my equation. Let's go ahead and solve. How about first, though, I again mark some things here. Remember here, each is to multiply. This was the and. This was a magazine. Now, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the equation so we can figure out how much each book did cost. Using our equation skills from the last few days, here we go. Step 1. This helps some people. I'm going to split the problem into 2 parts, the left and the right. Since I want to get the B all by itself, I'm going to go ahead and start with adding or subtracting away that $1.99 away from the B. So I'm going to subtract $1.99 from each side. Notice that I line it up. I put the minus $1.99 underneath the plus $1.99. That is important. It helps us remember that that is where I'm subtracting. And now I'm going to bring everything down. The 3B is not being changed. I'm going to bring it down. The $1.99 is now gone. And it is equal to, well, now I need to subtract. This becomes $54. So again, step 1 was we subtracted. Now I'm left with 3B equals 54. Since that is 3 times B, I need to finish this up by dividing. I'm going to divide each side by 3 so I can get the cost of my books. Here, B is equal to 18. Now, we are going to be asking you for a full statement whenever you answer this. So here's what we could say. We could say, my conclusion is each book costs $18. That is my statement. That is my answer. So that is what a full problem looks like. I want to go ahead and do 2 more, but I'll try to speed them up a little bit. So here we go. A personal trainer buys a weight bench for $500 and W weights for $24.99 each. The total cost of the purchase is $849.86. How many weights were purchased? First, let's seek out our numbers. A personal trainer buys a weight bench for $500 and W weights for $24.99. Notice that I circled the W. Remember, the W is a variable that represents a number, and I'm circling it to remind us that that is the variable we're being asked to use. The total cost of the purchase is $849.86. Next, I'm going to underline the question. How many weights were purchased? Now that's going to be W. Next, I'm going to go back through and mark any action words, words that tell me operations. A personal trainer buys a weight bench for $500 and W weights for $24.99 each. The total of the cost is $849.86. Now, I boxed in total. I could also just have boxed in is. But that just tells me what side is actually going to just be equal to a number versus the side that's going to have the variable on it. So in words, here's what's happening. The workbench, the weight bench, and $24.99 for each weight is or costs $849.86. Variable. Well, we are going to let W be the number of weights now we're going to use our statement to build this together. We know that the bench was $500 and is the plus sign. $24.99 each means $24.99 times the number of weights, W, for a total of $849.86. And I'll clean that up to make sure that doesn't confuse anybody. Now let us go ahead and solve this. Split my problem down the middle here so I can keep track of what I'm doing. My variable is right here, so I'm going to start with doing any adding and subtracting away from the variable. I have this 500 in front, and note that it is a positive 500, which means step one is going to be to subtract. Next, I need to take care of that multiplication by dividing. So I'll divide each side by 24.99 to see what I get as the number of weights. When you do your division, you'll find W equals 14. So we'll make a statement saying 14 weights were purchased. And that's like a bare minimum answer. I should really say something about the personal trainer bought 14 weights. But this is the bare minimum. Now I have one more example. Bear with me. What I might suggest doing here is stopping the video, trying it out on your own, and starting it back up and seeing what you get. You and your friend's lunch cost $19. Your lunch costs $3 more than your friend's. How much was your friend's lunch? And I had circled the numbers as I went. Once you get more comfortable with it, you guys will be able to pick up your speed. It says you and your friend's lunch, so that's going to be a plus. Cost $19. This cost here is actually telling me that this is what the final total is, so equals. Your lunch costs 3 more than your friend, which means some more addition. How much was your friend's lunch? In words, what's happening here is your friend's lunch and your lunch cost $19. We'll go ahead and we'll say, let F be the cost of your friend's lunch. And now we can piece this together. If F is the cost of your friend's lunch, this first part that says your friends will just be F. We next have our and, so plus. And when we talk about your lunch is stated to be 3 more than your friends. Well, that means I need to add 3 to however much your friend's lunch cost. So my next statement actually is going to be F plus 3. And that totaled out to $19. So here we actually have the variable pop up twice. So this is a slightly different step, but let's talk about what's going to happen. F plus 3 equals 19. When solving equations, sometimes we need to do a step that is called combine like terms. And to make that work, let's look at the two F's. Well, I have one F and one F. Whenever there's no number written in front of the letter, it's automatically a 1. Those come together to be 2F plus 3 equals 19. Now this looks more like an equation we've been solving. Second step here is I need to go ahead and subtract the 3 away. So 2f equals 16. And then finally, I can divide. So what it looks like is your friend's lunch cost, or was, whichever you want to use, $8. And that concludes Chapter 2, Lesson 3.